It's the grandson of Right Thought. Welcome to the School of Marvelous Light. I want to remind you, fathers, today, to be balanced with your sons today. Be balanced with your boy today. Don't be hard on him. Don't be mean to your son. Don't be unreasonable with him and selfish with him, as if you own him. Remember that all good gifts come from above, and a son is indeed a gift. So treat him as a gift. Let your son know verbally. Tell him that you love him. Tell your son that you're proud of him. Tell your son you admire him. Tell your son he is handsome. Tell your son he is able, that he can do it. Tell your son that he's strong. Most of all, tell him that you're proud of him. I'll say it again. Look him in his eye. Get on whatever level he is today, whether he be a toddler or a teen or a grown man. Fathers, look at your sons today. Look him in their eye and tell him that you're proud of him today. Not for any reason of anything he's done. Tell him that you're proud because you love him. Just because he is. Just because he exists. You love him. No matter what he's done. No matter what he will do. You open your arms, you receive your son into your arms today. Forgive your son for his shortcomings. Forgive him of his ignorances and his choices, just as your father has forgiven you for yours. Your father doesn't love you with conditions, so don't love your son with conditions. Read the story of the father with the two sons and the prodigal son who ran away and went off and wasted his blessing. But when he came back, his father received him with no hesitation, with a pure heart, and he kissed him and he held him. And he said, "This my son who was lost has returned to me again. He's found." That's how you love your son today. Don't be envious of your sons, fathers. Do not be envious of them. Do not be malicious toward them and harsh toward them and provoke them to wrath. Don't provoke your sons to wrath, fathers. Take a moment to find joy in your son. Take a moment to be tender with your son, not always hard with him. When he falls down, don't wait for his mother to console him. You console him sometimes. You pick him up and you hold him and you shush him and you tell him it's okay and you blow on his wound and you rub his head and say, "It's okay, son. I've fallen many times. Look at my knees. Look at my elbows. Look at my scars. I know they hurt. And sometimes you cry. And it's okay if you cry sometimes, son, when things hurt. Daddy cries sometimes when things hurt him. But we strengthen ourselves and we get back up and we keep on moving. Just like I got my scars, you'll have yours too, son. Talk to your sons that way with understanding. Not like you're better than your son, keeping all your secrets and lies that he doesn't know about away from him as if you made no mistakes in your life. Don't be that father. Be a condescending father like our Father is with us. Be like your Father in heaven. Be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. Love your son the way Abba Yah loved you. Can you do that today, Father? And stop being picky. Stop being distant. Stop being closed off and emotionally unavailable. That profits nothing to be that way. They have lied to you. You are male and female, so you may as well embrace such. If you're not male and female, brother, then where did the woman come from? The woman that you call feminine, where was it taken from? Was it not taken out of man? So then that means that that woman that you see is a part of you, part of who you are. So it's foolery for you to say, oh, well, girls cry when they fall, but son, you don't cry when you fall. Girls, when they get hurt, it's okay for them to show emotion, but it's not okay for you to show any emotions. You don't have emotions. That's bullshit and a big fucking lie. And if you live like that, then you're hindering your sons from being their fullness, being a full balanced male. You're hindering them from that. From themselves, from who I am is. You're not teaching them to be a tender keeper, because you're not being a tender keeper. You have to be a tender keeper in order to call yourself a man. You can't just be hard. You can't just be soft. You have to be a balance of both when you need to be. If you have no tenderness or softness as a man in your heart, no tender part of your heart, you will not condescend to your wife and children in your home. And you will provoke your son to wrath because you'll just be hard on him. You have to have balance, men. You must. You have to be able to correct your son when he does wrong and also praise him when he does right to the equal level. And a lot of you men, when your son messes up, you treat him harshly. But when he does something right, you just say, good job, son, and you keep him moving. That's wrong to be that way. Be equal with him. Do not dwell with him with iniquity. The same harshness that you are when he does wrong, the same joy you must have when he does right, even as small as it is, because you trip on him for the smallest thing he does when he does wrong. So give him praise for the smallest thing he does right then. So then he'll see the value of doing right. And not just the punishment of doing wrong. He need not just know that you get punished when you do wrong. He needs also to know that you get praised when you do right. Don't be those wicked fathers that praise their dog for shitting outside in the yard, but won't praise their son for doing the right thing that he's supposed to do that day. Your son gets into a fight and you just want to just jump on his case without finding out why he got into a fight because you're embarrassed that he got suspended from school for that fight. Hear the whole matter, father. See if it was worth fighting over first before you just condemn him for his mistakes, for embarrassing you. And a lot of you men, you're so scared to be embarrassed yourself that you just be harsh to your son if he does anything that you consider to be embarrassing to you. And that's wrong. That's wrong. That shows how weak you are as a man. To not be able to take a blow. To not be able to hear the whole matter, then judge it. Just jump to conclusions because I'm embarrassed. Your son goes over to someone else's house and he does something wrong and those parents are complaining to you about it, about what he did wrong, and you're so embarrassed by that, you just beat your son's ass. You don't even listen to what he has to say. You don't talk to him and instruct him. You don't tighten him up. Instead, you loosen him. You make him weak because you're bullying him instead of tightening him, chiseling him into a man. Chiseling takes patience, does it not? Does it take diligence and discipline and attention to detail to chisel out a form of anything that's beautiful? Doesn't it take those things? Well, it takes the same thing for you to chisel out your son. Patience, long suffering with the process, kindness with the process, truth with the process, and not lies. Open up your life to your son. Open up your youth to your son so that he knows That he's not some fucking weirdo and you're some superhero perfect man that he can never attain to. Why are you giving him a false image? Don't be mean and harsh to your son. Guide your son in truth. Show him the way with your actions, not with just your words while you sit on your fat ass and don't do anything. Your son starts to get chubby and you call him fat and he needs to start getting in shape and he needs to do something and play some sports and be a man and be a boy and stop acting all lazy and blah, blah, blah. But you ain't doing shit and you fat as hell and you all out of shape and ugly and don't eat right. Get the beam out of your eye first so you can lead your son with the clear eyes. We must take responsibility and self-accountability for the things that go on in our house. Not anyone else's responsibility. It's ours. And specifically, this message is about you fathers and your sons and you dwelling with them in righteousness now. You finding joy in him now. When he sees you, he sees your light come on in your eyes. And because of that, he feels like he's valuable. His I am is solid now. I must be valuable because my dad treats me like I am. I must be valuable. I must be beautiful because my father treats me like I am. So then I must be. Do y'all hear that? But instead, we have a bunch of children out here that don't know who they are, so they do things to try to get people to tell them that they are, so then they feel like they are, instead of having a solid foundation because their father has already established it for them. Son, look people in the eyes when they speak to you. Don't look down at your feet. You have no reason to be ashamed. You have no reason to be afraid. So do like your father does. When I talk to people, what do you see me do? You stand there and you look them right in their eyes, Father. Well, that's what I expect of you. No less. I'd rather if you be more than me, but no less than me. Did you hear me? I want my sons to be more than me. Definitely no less than me. So what I wanted to do with you, son, is give you all the good things that I have. All of them. And then you build from there. Did not David gather all the supplies so that his son Solomon could build the temple? Do y'all hear me though? Or do you hear me though? Or do you hear me though? David, being the father, gathered all the things necessary. Listen to me and open up your spiritual ears so you can hear this. David gathered all the knowledge and wisdom necessary to build a boy into a man, is what I'm telling you, because the temple is the body. So yes, Solomon built the physical temple, but we know the true temple is the body. So what Solomon was building was himself into a man. A true man. And David was the one who gathered everything necessary to build in a man. So he gave all of that to Solomon, and Solomon was able to be the king full of wisdom who led the nation of Israel unified as one, the two nations as one, north and south kingdoms as one, under the banner of truth and love with 40 years of peace. Solomon was not a warrior king, a king of peace, a prince of peace. Solomon is a prince of David, a prince of peace, he shall be called. The one who builds the temple, he shall be called Solomon. But Solomon needed a father to teach him, to gather supplies for him. Do you see it? A man after God's own heart, chasing after God's heart. So God gave the wisdom and knowledge to David, who then imparted it to his son and said, okay, Solomon, you'll be king next because you have the tools necessary. I've given them to you. And then Solomon indeed built the temple and dedicated it to God. It's called the Feast of Dedication. Where was Yahusha walking when he went through the temple? Solomon's porch? Is that what it's written? And it was winter? Is that not what it says? And it was the Feast of Dedication? Oh, boy. Y'all got to read the Apocrypha to know what I'm talking about when I said those things in the scripture about the Feast of Dedication. But nonetheless, You fathers love your sons in truth today. No longer in lies and deceiving your son, telling him lies, telling him things of vanity, lying to him about women and about how to treat women. Tell him the truth according to what Christ has taught, because Christ is your head, Father. Not you, not your job, not your boss, not your woman, not your baby mama, and not your mama neither. Christ is your head. So go to Christ for your wisdom and your knowledge, and then impart that to your son. And it will go well with your son in his days. Shalom Israel.